Yeah, that would be, yeah, so the knowledge of Bayesian statistics and also all of the programming stuff that we did will be what I assume for this course. But of course, along the way, we're gonna like make sure that everybody has enough, refresh your memory and trying to make the link of how Bayesian methods can help with confidentiality detection. Okay? So what we're gonna do today is to give a quick introduction of the course and then start right in, especially given the material that I asked you to do. I mean, the to-do list, I asked you to try to pretend yourself to be an intruder of some sort, and then trying to figure out if there is indeed any privacy concerns or confidentiality concerns in the publicly available data. And that will be the starting point of how we make it. Okay. All right, so course orientation. Yeah, we need, I mean, maybe we're going to move to a different room. I don't know. Maybe we go back to 013. I don't know. Might be a little bit better. We don't know. But but it's going to be Tuesdays, 3:10 to 5:10. And I write here is some lectures will be used at labs, and depends. I think really depends on how things move. I really expect people to try things before coming, and then of course whatever we cover, you can try afterwards. But maybe in class we're going to do some computing labs. Office hours this semester, 10 to 12 on Wednesday, and then 11:30 to 12:30 on Thursday or by appointment. And I said we can meet other times through appointment through email. And prerequisite 347, and of course you're interested in any kind of confidentiality issues that you might be curious about. And readings, so I write some kind of, I prepare some material, but at the same time, I will periodically give out a list of selected journal articles and manuscript for you to read about. It depends on people's interest and then how we move forward. Software, use R, so R and R Studio. Make sure that you have them installed and working. Webpage this time is going to be on GitHub, and the slides. So if something comes up, like I will send an email to everybody like an announcement. But otherwise, you can just check that page for the to-do list for what's the next time or something like that. And all of the data sets or lecture slides, they're all just in different folders on the GitHub page. So you can go, yeah, that's the go-to place for you to find out the material. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure out how to use GitHub the best way, especially if you have things to contribute. I wonder if you know anything, or like I will look around as well, like how can I set up like a mechanism that you can upload your work in some way there before or after each section. So I will try to figure that out. And there, yeah, so pretty much data set, transcripts, and lectures will be there. And also, I would say papers, I'll put them in the folder as well. And then on the to-do list, you will see what you should do. But again, this is brand new, so I'm trying to figure out how to move this most smoothly. So the topics, generally, I put them in the 3 different areas for this course. So first of all is disclosure risks in microdata, and that's actually what we were trying to do before the class. And we're going to talk about what you have found out, and then some other general ways of evaluating disclosure risks in microdata. And then soonish, you might be wondering, what can we do to provide protection? Okay, if you found some kind of concern, so, well, for a particular person, we're saying that your neighbor with that combination, if you can find that person with very high probability, what can you do to give protection for each individual in a publicly available microdata? Okay? So we're gonna, of course, in this case, rely on Bayesian methods, and in particular, we're gonna look at different ways to do Bayesian, what we call data synthesis. So pretty much the way that we're gonna learn throughout the semester in practice to do this protection, providing protection is, we can think of generating fake data from Bayesian methods. Okay, so you can imagine that if I have a confidential original data set and I try to develop the statistical models, in this case we're doing it in a Bayesian way, simply because when you have your model estimated on the data, like remember, like in the Bayesian framework, we have parameters, right? We give them prior, we have a data model, and then we can estimate the posterior distribution of the parameter, right? Like say mu in a normal model, or p for a binomial, all that kind of stuff. So the next step, if you want to do some protection for this type of data, we can actually just generate the Y's, which are the data sets themselves. Generate those data, new data, synthetic data, or fake data from the posterior that you already have. Okay, so if you remember roughly the posterior predictive distribution that we talked about before, that say if I start with, start writing a little bit. So if you, this is just an example. So if you remember, we did this theta binomial conjugate, right? Like if I'm curious about and my data model, which is my slide, and then my likelihood or my data model, the simplest case, if you have a fixed number of respondents and you're just asking yes or no questions, then you're going to have a binomial data model, right? And that is why follows a binomial and P. Okay? And we know that P is fixed. That's how many people we ask the question for. And sorry, N is fixed. And P is the success probability of that person answering yes or no, whichever you define. Okay? So suppose now, maybe you don't think it's very risky if we release the Y, which is the number of people saying yes. But suppose you think it's risky. Then instead of releasing the actual Y that you collect, you can release a noisy version of Y. And the noise comes from when you do what we call posterior predictive. I think you, all of you still remember what we mean by posterior predictive. So remember, with the likelihood of the prior, you get what? You get a posterior, right? For the simplest case, with the success probability, remember we like to write given the data, because now it becomes the posterior. It is what? It is beta. Well, I don't know, what is it? A plus? Yeah, Y is, yeah, so I think it's A plus Y, then B plus N minus Y. Okay, there's A and B, remember, can be the prior sample size is of success and failure, right? And Y is the actual success count in the data, and N minus Y is the actual count of failure in the data. Okay, so anyway, so we get this posterior, and that's all good, given what we learned from Bayesian statistics 347. And what I'm proposing here is throughout the semester, you will see that, well, in order to provide a noisy version of Y, let's just say Y star. If I want to make a prediction about Y, what do you do? What did we do before? I want to know, like say now, if I'm giving the survey again to another group of N people, and I want to know, I want to predict how many people out of that N will say yes to that question. How do I do a prediction? Yeah, Sarah?
You use the posterior.
Yeah, so the posterior, thank you. Yeah, I haven't done this for a while, so I forgot. Okay, anyway, so the posterior was what? Was P, right? The posterior of P was beta, A plus Y, and B plus N minus Y, right? And if now I want to make a prediction about Y, I do it in two steps. First step, I generate a draw of P from this posterior, right? And it just R beta in R, you do it, A plus Y, B plus N minus Y. Okay? That would be a posterior draw of the parameter, but we want the data. So we do step 2, which is Y star. Now, when we do prediction, we go back to the data model. Okay? The data model is a binomial. And we still have N as the number of trials that we do, or number of surveys that we give out. But then the value for C, which is the success probability in this case, would be P star, which we just grew. Okay? So this is a way, if you imagine like, well, very unlikely, I guess, y star will be exactly y. Okay? So we are not giving out y specifically, but we're giving out a y star, which is supposed to be very close to y, because we fit a good model on it, if the model is good. So throughout the semester, you will see what we mean by protection methods for microdata. Microdata is individual level data. You have like rows and columns. Rows are the observations, and columns are the variables that you're curious about. So they are microdata, as opposed to tabular data, where instead of giving out each information of each person, you give tabulated counts. Okay, maybe.
Oh, I'm just confused.
Mhm.
Are we doing that for 1,000 times and generating distribution? Why is that?
Yeah, so this will be something we have to think a little bit hard about, right? So in the past, when we're doing, like, say, posterior predictive checks, remember, we generate like a bunch of them, and then check how close they are to the original data. And then say, for this case, the y, well, if y was only, so let's say, if the observation was univariate, just like one count of y, then what you can do is you can probably generate a large number of them and see how close your predicted y, the y stars are to the actual y, right? So that will be a way to check how good your model is. But imagine to release the data, you want to release typically in the same dimension as how you collect the data, right? Because imagine like somebody was trying to use the data, I just want to know a count. Why do you give me 1,000? Right? So I mean, this is extreme case because you only have like the data is only collected in one count. Yeah. So for the end user, they might just want to know the count itself. They know it's going to be noisy, but at least they get that number so they can use it for something. Okay. And you will see soon. I mean, next time or future times that determining how many y stars we're going to do really is determined by how many observations we have in the original data in the first place. Okay? Say, for example, now I have a data set. So this is a great question. Now I have a data set, which is, well, let's just use the ACS data that I asked you to before. So, well, I wouldn't remember exactly all of the variables, but I think there are 10 categorical variables, and there are 10,000 observations. I think that's the magnitude, okay? So suppose among the 10 variables, let's just say, since you all explored it, which one do you think is the most sensitive? Among the 10 variables, given your intuition, like say, if I want to protect some of the information in the data, you probably want to start with the most sensitive. And when we say protect, is adding noise to it. So this is like a process of determining what variable I should work on for my model so I can generate a fake version of it, a noisy version. So for the 10 variables that we have, anybody? Yeah, Sarah.
Where people are.
Okay, so I think it's that WAOD, right? That was it. Yeah, so all of them are categorical. All of them categorical, so this is a simple case. And okay, so let's just go with the place where the person was born. So let's say that is sensitive. And we can say that we think that is sensitive for everybody. So I want to synthesize that variable for everybody. Then in theory, the number of predictive draws that I want for each person is 1. Right? Yeah. So imagine that this was the data frame. And let's say this is the place where people, that particular variable, okay? Imagine that, well, if we're only allowed to add noise to one variable, and let us say we want to add noise to this one because this is most sensitive, then what I do is, well, like, regardless of what kind of models we're gonna do later, you can just focus on that column and then model that variable, given everything else, or given, I don't know, a selection of the remaining variables that you want to make sure that can help you predict the WAOB as well as you can. Then for each observation, I have 1 predictive value I should do, right? Yeah. So for each of them, say for 10,000 of them, we're gonna do each person doing 1. But then to make sure that we still capture the uncertainty in the model, we can do multiple synthetic data frames. Okay? But for each observation, we still provide 1. Okay? So it's slightly different from what we used to do, because in the past, I think we want to make sure that the model is doing well, and that's why for the posterior predictive checks, we want to do like enough number, or maybe just matching how many in the sample, and then make sure that, like, you remember we used to do like, if I have 20 observations from a normal model, right? When I do posterior predictive checks, I generate maybe 10,000 of 20. Right? And then I take the mean of them, I plot them, I make sure that the distribution of the 10,000 new means is that, like, can capture my observed means really well. Yeah. So that simulation of multiple approximation is that is trying to show the posterior predictive distribution. Yeah. For this case, yeah, we still want to develop good models in the sense that the posterior predictive distribution will still be very similar to the original. Yeah, but in terms of how many we generate fake version of it and how many release, I think we'll go back to the dimension of the mean. So we'll see that, I think, more clearly. So in this case, I would say, if we're going to do this for the ACS, yeah, it's American Community Survey data, what we're going to do is you do one predicted value for each observation. So you do that one by one. Yeah, you can start to imagine how you're going to let it, right? Like I have those posterior draws of my parameter, I just generate. Don't worry about how to do that model yet. That's a little bit more complicated right now. But just imagine that from my predictive distribution, I can generate predictive draws, and then now I have 10,000 of them. Everything stays the same. All of the 9 remaining variables stay the same, but then I have that particular column to be different from. So that will be one general way to think about it. Okay. So of course, there might be different data types, and then of course then the Bayesian models that you're going to use will be different. So here, my plan is to talk about the continuous variables, binary variables, and categorical variables. So we'll see how each of them can be done, and you can bring, given what we know already, you might already know what kind of methods or what kind of Bayesian models will work. But for other ones, maybe we haven't covered it. Yeah, I know we haven't covered it in 347, but that would be a good time to learn some new models and along the way. Okay. And then for your project, of course, you can do, you are supposed to pick a data set that you think has some privacy concern, but you can demonstrate what it is, and then you can develop the models. Maybe it's an existing thing that we covered before. Maybe it will involve reading some papers to make sure that you can implement it. And I would say, unless the model is super complicated, otherwise JAX will do that for you. Okay, and we all know that JAX, remember this friend JAX, we get a bunch of posterior draws of parameters, right? And then in the past, JAX function, JAX, the software can do all of the posterior summaries for you, right? You just return the table and give you all that. But for synthetic data, what we're doing, for protection methods, doing Bayesian data synthesis, we have to do some extra steps. Okay? That is the prediction that I was talking about. Yeah, but I think it will be pretty natural once we get everything working. Okay. All right, and then of course, if you develop some methods, you claim that, well, now we add some noise. This is great because we cannot like say for sure like this person exactly had that place of birth or something. But once you have that, there are two things that we want to make sure that they're working well. The first item is data utility. When we say data utility, we're saying that, well, I don't have my original confidential data. It's not given to me, right? And what if, like, I'm working with the synthetic version that is generated from models? How do I know I can get very close estimations of anything that I want compared to the original? Okay? So that's your goal as data synthesizers, like what you're trying to protect data. You're trying to do it through the Bayesian synthesis process. So what you need to make sure is, well, the released synthetic version of the data will have very high data utility. Okay, so you can think about any kind of things. Say, for example, the WAOB, that variable. I don't remember, maybe there are 3 or 4 levels in that categorical variable. So one simple thing you can say, or you can at least check for the data utility is, well, I know that in my original data. Maybe I have a breakdown of 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. Right? If there are 4 levels, I can count the percentages and all that to make sure that that is the gold standard that I want to match. Right? And then we can do that for the synthetic. Look at the breakdown of 1, 2, 3, 4, and see how close they are. So that's very case by case, depends on the data that you're working with. You want to make sure that the data that you produce will be similar to some extent to the one that you're trying to compare. Otherwise, you release this, people, well, it's not useful, right? Even though you add some noise, when you add noise, you want to make sure that it's still useful. Yeah. And the other aspect is the disclosure risks, which will be the topic today, later, soon. And that is the stuff that I was trying to ask you to play with. Well, how can you demonstrate any kind of disclosure risks in microdata if you don't do anything about it? Okay. So naturally, if I don't do anything about it, the risk is really high, let's say. And now I do something about it, I add some protection methods, now I hope the disclosure risk will reduce, right, or decrease at least. Right? So we want to make sure that by providing synthetic version of the microdata, we can not only keep high data utility, but also low disclosure risk. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't want to do it. Each of them, each of the 2 aspects, data utility and disclosure risk are pretty important. Okay? But along the way you will see, I think all of this now should be generally intuitive, but of course once we get into it, depends on the data type and then the data set, we might have different ways of doing it. But intuitively, we'll want to produce synthetic data that is having high utility, so you can get very close estimation results, but also low disclosure risk. Okay? Because otherwise, you can just release the original. Okay? But the original cannot be released because it's sensitive, and that's what we're trying to demonstrate. Okay? And then, of course, if we have some other time, if we can, I will mention some other protection methods that are being done in the field. Okay? But I was even just debating how much or like what topics I should include in this course. But I think, given that we all took Bayesian and then Bayesian data synthesis is sort of natural in a way that you generate predictive distribution and get the predictions. So I do think for this semester we focus on the Bayesian methods or Bayesian modeling approach to all of this, and then make sure that we understand how to, first of all, develop the methods. Second of all, how to evaluate how good the methods are. Okay? But again, depends on the type of the data, continuous or binary, categorical, you might have to do different things. Not only about the modeling, but also about the evaluation. So that will be the things that we're going to talk through with some examples, and then in homework or labs, and also in your project you can explore by yourself to see what kind of things you want. Question? No? No? Okay. All right. So, the three different parts, and readings, lectures, labs, and projects. We'll touch upon all of this. In the first project, welcome to do it individually or in pair. We only have one remote student, Isaac, so hopefully you will find a partner if you want to work with another person. So we'll figure out a way to do the communication. Maybe I can still keep the Moodle side up so people can, that we can figure out other ways to move on. And the final product is using Bayesian data synthesis methods to provide privacy protection. Okay. They're loosely defined now, but as we go on, I think you will gradually get to know what we care about, how can we do the modeling, and how can we make sure that our methods. Okay. All right, so in general, I think the project, the flow is you find either individually or in a pair, find a data set anywhere, like any type of data set you think of that interests you, and you can demonstrate the disclosure risk exists in that. Okay. And then you can design and implement protection methods, most likely through a Bayesian data synthesis process. And then you evaluate the protection methods, and then you write a report and present results. So that will be general flow. And questions, ideas to discuss and share before we look at what you did, or you're willing to share what you did for a little intruder game that I asked you. Yes.
What's the timeline for the course project? Is it starting soon as possible, or?
Yeah, you can start as soon as possible. I mean, actually, I was hoping, so along the way, I'm hoping to do, like I would say labs maybe, or like homework, either way. It's small assignment in the sense that you say, for example, first of all, you need to find a data set and demonstrate disclosure risk. So I'm guessing maybe, I plan to be like in week 3, like each team individually, or like a pair can give like short, even like a short quick presentation or any kind of write-up. I'll have to decide the format, but I think as early as you can. But you can change the data set later because, well, I mean, if you imagine, you might choose a data set and you find a particular sensitive variable that you really want to protect, but maybe the method is too complicated. Maybe you don't know how to do it, or maybe it would be like too difficult or too challenging in a short period of time to do that. Okay, if you switch to a different. Okay, but I think at this stage, try to think about data sets that interest you in the first place. And just as, I mean, Sarah thought the place of birth is the most sensitive, but not everybody might agree with that. Like, you might have your own opinion on that. And one thing is about intuition. The other thing is about, well, if I can use, which we're going to talk about soon, like any kind of metrics or measures that can show that, yes, this one is the most sensitive, let's synthesize this one. So you need to support your argument why you think this is the most sensitive. Okay, intuitively, yes, but maybe not the most. You never know, because, well, each sample might be different. The particular sample that you work with may have some very uniquely identified observations that, well, place of birth might not be the main contributing factor. Maybe it's, I don't know, another variable that might not be that intuitive, but you demonstrate that will have the highest disclosure risk, then that will be the one that would be. But open-ended and start as soon as you can. I think that would be the best. So I guess just in your mind, well, I did give the ACS data, but in your mind, what kind of data, like microdata, we're just talking about individual level data, okay? So what kind of variables in general that you think will be the most sensitive that we better provide protection to them? Just in your mind. And I said, feel free to jump in and I can give time for.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, just ones that within society are generally like fairly imbalanced or unevenly distributed. Like, for example, in the ACS data, the like has a disability, right? Or like reported having a disability, where like that's a fairly low frequency event, so already that like makes the population a little bit more granular. So when it's something that's important to keep track of in your data set, but also like within the population maybe fairly imbalanced, I imagine there's a lot of risk there.
Right. Yeah, for all, like, say, for the ACS data, it's all categorical. So you can make, like, you can look at any kind of combination and check how many observations are there in the sample, right? So naturally, you would think that if there a particular combination, especially with disability. So disability, I think, is a binary variable, yes or no. And in general, there will be like fewer, I think, I don't remember the percentage, but definitely low in terms of having disability. So that is a key factor or key variable in that case. That if you know somebody having a disability, and if you know that person is in the survey, and if you just know a couple of more variables, you will have a high chance of identifying that person because there are very few people sharing that trait. So that's like, I think overall very challenging for categorical data because, well, first of all, so imagine, let's say, so with ACS, there are 10 categorical variables. I think every variable, I don't remember, like, but some of them have many levels, some of them have few, like binary. So of course, I mean, if you think about cross tabulation, like just think about a particular combination. Yeah, disability is one, even though it's only binary, but like very few people have it, which is the value of 1. So that can be a determining factor of finding somebody unique. Okay, but there might be other ones. I think like what Sarah was saying, the place of birth, I think is US and then like other parts of the world. And then when you go like particular, especially, I mean, if you think about that with race, and then also like maybe gender, not even gender, with race and all that, you might, for example, if it's somebody, if some white person, let's say, we have to look at the data, but if it's a white person born in Asia, how likely do you think that is? Right? It's not going to be very likely. So if you know somebody, maybe it's like none in that sample at all. Because again, ACS, you guys should just tell you a little bit more. ACS, American Community Survey, I think they're trying to, so the sample size, I mean, what they produce or publish varies, but they're trying to, of course, do a representative sample. So they're trying to represent that particular area or a particular region that they're doing the sampling from. The ACS sample is representing that population. So that's why, in general, I would imagine white person born in Asia would be very unlikely. Just guessing, yeah, in terms of yeah, frequency of happening. And then if you have 10,000 observations, if that rate, I mean, the probability of that happening is really low. So it's very likely for a sample like that, even though it's 10,000, we don't get any.
Yeah, and this is also adding on to Isaac's point about just how, like, if you were to look at, let's say, like the state of New York, where like it's very, very racially diverse compared to like another state, maybe like in the Midwest or something. I think just the imbalance of such races could also play a factor, and so yeah, I disagree.
What do you all think? Anything else? Well, I started with ACS. They're all categorical, but you can think about other type of data. Yeah,
like locations. So like the
Mm.
hospital might record the exact location of the patient that we are trying to do a study for, like spatial distribution of patients. You may have to like dislocate the location so you can't find the exact just by the location.
Exactly, yeah. So geographic information is always considered highly sensitive. And if you look, yeah, I think later I'll give the examples of this, but many public available data. So first of all, I should mention that the ACS that we're working with is not the confidential data. So anything public available has already undergone some kind of like noisy adding, whatever. Okay, we don't know for sure what ACS has done. Like if you go online, you will see like they usually will have some documentation. So the ACS data that we're working with is not confidential. Okay, it's public available. So all statistical agencies have to do something before release the data. Okay, there might be, so I'm first of all, I'm fairly sure it's not synthetic data. It's not some model-based that they probably just like do something else about it. I will mention them like other traditional methods soon when we start the lecture too. But the ACS data or any other public available data is not the confidential one. Okay, they're already so in a sense that we have to treat what we have as the truth and then do our best to replicate using synthetic data. Okay, but we need to keep in mind that whatever we can find public available cannot be the confidential. Okay. So it's sort of like we never know the truth what it is. Okay. We have to sort of do our best. And yeah, so for geographic information, I should mention that for many surveys, not only that they don't like, not only that they think they have to do something about it, but typically they just don't release it at all because it's too confidential. In a sense that they don't think adding any noise can help in some sense. Okay, so if you, I mean, yeah, so if you start doing your project soon, when you look around, browse on the internet to find data sources, I think geographic information, especially the very detailed one, you might get like state information. Yeah, state level, okay? Or maybe a little bit better, maybe at county level, but even that is already pretty sensitive. I think people try to suppress or just don't release that all. So geographic information is definitely very tricky to do that. And that depends, maybe categorical, maybe because it depends on how you define it, maybe continuous, and yeah, but it's always tricky to deal with geographic. Anything else? Yeah.
Anything protected by law of medical records,
For example,
like previous doctor visits. like history of illnesses or things like that.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, yeah, history of illness, yes.
I also remember in my conventions class, my professor talked about the census putting a cap to people's like reported income, because if you know the person's like state or like education, some details, and you know that if they have like a super high income, you might know that like some other things.
Yeah, so income, typically, people always try to protect it. And I'm guessing maybe you're referring to your professor saying that let's put a cap,
Yeah.
right? So that would be, so putting a cap in our, like, in this field of talking about, like, protecting privacy is what we call top coding. So at the top, we code it. So in a sense that I think income is sensitive, so like above the threshold, I don't release what is above it, but I only release, like, say, I don't know, let's just cap it at a number, and then everybody making beyond that number will just have that number. Okay, so that would be a typical thing to do, and we'll see later. You will see, I will give you an example that top coding for income or any kind of like super skewed continuous random variable might not be a good thing. So first of all, if you like, it's sort of like you chop off the tail of the distribution. So if I want to learn anything about the tail of the distribution, I have no idea, right? Because it's already what it's chopped. I just have that particular number. I have a bunch of people making that number, but I want to know what about the distribution beyond that. So for utility, like remember utility, we want to make sure that the release data will still resemble the confidential original data. So for that matter, it might not be.
So like something like social security numbers, like would that be like the most sensitive?
Yeah, good point. So first of all, what do you think? What do y'all think? Social security numbers or names or addresses or so those are the ones I think what people were saying. I think they term it as the key identifiers. So social security numbers.
Yeah.
And so key social security numbers, names, and addresses. I think those are the three. These are the three things that actually they're just not allowed to release at all. So if you imagine, like I collect data, say for example, I collect data from our clients. I ask every information I can think of, including social security numbers and names and addresses and maybe your demographics and whatever. So the first step for any statistical agencies to do before they release the data is definitely not releasing any of those. Because, well, they are not even, so they're super sensitive and the key identifiers are the first one to be removed. Yeah, but what we are saying is that even if you remove those, the protection might not be enough. So imagine the ACS data, there's nothing about social security, names, or addresses, right? But then, if you just have like disability, that's one, what Isaac was saying, and also maybe a combination of race and then the place of birth, then I don't even need to know their social security number or names or addresses. I can already have really high chance of identifying that person. Yeah, but you're right. Those are actually not in the scope of what we talk about. Key identifiers, they're always not released. We always have to protect. That's the first thing that we do. No, but good point. I mean, for people like us, I would say like me, sometimes you just forget about, okay, those are important too, but like we always into a particular data set that already removes all those key identifiers. But yes, they are the first one to do. Because then you can uniquely know that person without any other information.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was just thinking like that's the only intruder would like to look into like a bank's like data, yeah, or like something that's very, very confidential that like they wouldn't release, but it would be in their system.
Yeah.
If there would be a way to.
Oh, I see.
synthesize some
I
kind of
see.
privacy protection.
Right. Yeah.
Might be different.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So that is actually the part that I personally don't know much about, because whenever I work on these problems, I always work on those non-key identifiers. Yeah. And I should also mention most of the stuff that I worked on, and also we're gonna keep talking about in this class, is just looking at one sample. Like I'm just looking at, like say, how many observations here, I don't know, but like I'm only looking at, say, for the ACS, I'm figuring out for this 10 variable, okay? But it's very likely for people to link the existing sample to a different sample. And then that can open up a lot more opportunities for people to find out, even like, not only just identifying person, but also just find out key sensitive information about them. So that's another field. I mean, it's the same field, but many people also work on that. But I would like to keep our scope not as crazy as that. And I want you all to focus on why we want to care about disclosure risk, why releasing the original data is not safe, and then how Bayesian data synthesis can help us protecting those data sets. Anything else? Sensitive variables, information, I think. Or if you ever try to find out anybody that you're curious about, then what will be the first thing that you want to find out about that person? And that might be the most sensitive thing out there. Okay? Make sense? Sense? All right. So